You owe us this. Mom hissed, shoving my credit card statement in my face. The paper trembled in her hand. $50,000 in debt I never knew existed. My name, my credit, my future destroyed. I stared at the statement, unable to process the numbers swimming before my eyes. A loan taken out 6 months ago, when I was working double shifts to save for a house. The down payment I'd been so proud of yesterday morning now seemed like a cruel joke. I raised you, she continued, voice rising. Everything you have is because of us. This family stands together. I gripped the kitchen counter, feeling the world tilt. Behind her, Dad and Kevin avoided my eyes, their silence a thundering accusation. 5 missed calls from the mortgage broker lit up my phone. I'd thought they were congratulations. I didn't sign this, I whispered, the paper shaking in my hands. The signature looked like mine, but slightly off. Too neat. Too deliberate. Mom's eyes hardened. Family duty isn't something you sign for, Emma. I sat in my car outside the bank, staring at the rejection letter. The mortgage broker had been apologetic but firm. With this debt-to-income ratio and the recent loan activity, there's nothing we can do. My hands still shook as I called my parents' number again. 6 calls, straight to voicemail. I'd left the house after the confrontation, needing space to think, to breathe. Now they weren't answering. The rejection letter felt heavy in my hands. 6 years of double shifts at the hospital. Living in a cramped studio apartment, eating ramen, picking up every extra holiday shift no one wanted. All to save $30,000 for a down payment on a modest 2-bedroom house. All gone because of a loan I never took. My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin, *stop making drama. They needed it for the roof repair. You're being selfish, *. I stared at the message, feeling something crack inside me. Kevin. My 23-year-old brother who still lived at home. Who had access to my mail when I still had it delivered to my parents' house until last year. Kevin, who could easily have taken my personal documents. I texted back, did you forge my signature? The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, * they're your parents. They gave you everything, * the dots again. Then, you weren't using your credit anyway. I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel, feeling tears burn behind my eyes. A memory surfaced. Mom asking for my social security card last Christmas, claiming she needed it for family documents. Me, trusting her without question because that's what daughters do. My phone rang. Uncle Steve. Emma, he sounded tired. Your mother called. She's upset. They stole my identity, I said, the words strange in my mouth. They took out a $50,000 loan in my name. A long pause. They said you agreed to help with the house repairs. I stopped, realizing arguing was pointless. Uncle Steve, I was denied a mortgage today because of this. 6 years of saving gone. He sighed. Come over. We need to talk. Uncle Steve's kitchen was warm and smelled like coffee. He set a mug in front of me and sat across the table, his face grave. Your parents are underwater, he said quietly. The roof was just part of it. They've been borrowing against the house for years. Credit cards maxed out. I stared at him. Why didn't they tell me? Pride. He looked away. And they figured you'd say no. So they committed fraud instead? My voice cracked. They destroyed my credit, my chance at buying a home. They don't see it that way, he interrupted. In their mind, they raised you, put you through nursing school. They think you owe them. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug. What am I supposed to do now? You have options, he said carefully. None of them easy. Can you talk to them? Make them understand? Uncle Steve looked pained. Emma, I've tried. For years. They don't listen to me any more than they'll listen to you. My phone buzzed with another text from Kevin, * mom's crying because of you. Dad says you better not do anything stupid. * I showed it to Uncle Steve, who read it and sighed. They're in denial. And they're scared. Of what? Consequences, he said simply. I stared into my coffee, watching the surface ripple with my shaking hands. I need to call the police, don't I? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. The police station was cold and smelled of industrial cleaner. Officer Martinez took down my statement, her face neutral as I explained how my parents had taken out a loan in my name without my knowledge or consent. "Do you have proof you didn't authorize this loan?" she asked. I hesitated. The signature doesn't match mine exactly. And I was working doubles at the hospital when the paperwork was signed. "I can prove I was at work." She nodded, making notes. Identity theft cases are complicated. When families involved, they get messy. "Will my parents go to jail?" The words caught in my throat. Officer Martinez looked up. "That depends on a lot of factors." "Are you sure you want to pursue this?" "I just want my credit restored. My life back." "Filing this report is step one," she said. "But you should know, once this process starts, it's hard to take back. Family relationships don't usually survive this kind of accusation." "They didn't think about that when they stole my identity," I said, surprising myself with the hardness in my voice. As I left the police station, my phone lit up with a call from Dad. After 2 days of silence, now they wanted to talk. I let it ring through to voicemail. His message was short. "Emma Catherine Clark. You come home right now and fix this mess you've made. Your mother is beside herself." The mess I'd made. 3 days after filing the police report, I arrived at my apartment to find Mom sitting on the steps outside my door. She looked smaller somehow, her eyes red-rimmed. "You called the police on your own family," she said as I approached. "Not a question. An accusation." I gripped my keys tightly. "You stole my identity. We are your parents. That doesn't give you the right to ruin my life." She stood, arms crossed. "We gave you life. We sacrificed everything for you. One loan to save our home, and you treat us like criminals. What you did was criminal, Mom. It is literally the definition of fraud. After everything we've done for you." Her voice trembled. "How could you do this to us? To your father? To Kevin?" I felt the familiar guilt rise up, the weight of obligation crushing my chest. Then I remembered the mortgage broker's face. The house I'd lost. The years of saving destroyed in an instant. "I need you to leave," I said quietly. "Emma, now, Mom. Or I'll call the police again." Her face hardened. "We're still your family. You can't change that." "You changed it," I said. "When you decided my future was less important than yours." The certified letter from the bank arrived a week later. They were investigating the fraud claim. My parents and Kevin would be questioned. The process could take months. Meanwhile, my parents had enlisted the entire extended family. Aunt Denise called to tell me I was breaking my mother's heart. Cousin Rachel sent a lengthy email about family loyalty. Even my grandmother left a tearful voicemail asking why I was doing this to everyone. No one asked why my parents had done this to me. Uncle Steve was the exception. He brought dinner one night, listened as I cried, and didn't offer false comfort. "They've always been like this," he said finally. "Robert and Nancy against the world. Everyone else exists to serve their needs." "Even their children?" I asked. "Especially their children." He looked at me sadly. "You're the first to really fight back." My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. Asterisk, "They're selling my gaming systems because of your police report." Happy now. Asterisk, I showed it to Uncle Steve, who shook his head. "He's as much a victim as you are, in his way. Just doesn't know it yet." The real shock came when I stopped by my parents' house to pick up my birth certificate and other documents I'd left in their storage. I used my emergency key while they were at work, not wanting another confrontation. In my old bedroom, I found boxes stacked on the bed. My childhood trophies, photos, yearbooks, all labeled for a yard sale. A price tag on my graduation photo, $5. I stood there frozen, staring at my life priced and ready for strangers to paw through. $30 for my entire childhood dance career. $10 for my teddy bear collection. My heart pounded in my ears as I gathered armfuls of memories, stuffing them into garbage bags to rescue what I could. Kevin came home as I was loading the third bag into my car. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Taking my things before Mom and Dad sell them to pay off their debts," I said. He blocked the door. "You can't just take stuff. These are my things, Kevin. My photos. My memories. Everything in this house belongs to Mom and Dad," he said, parroting their words. "They need the money because of what you did." "What I did?" I set down the bag I was carrying. Kevin, they committed fraud. They stole my identity. They ruined my credit and cost me my house. They needed the money. Then they should have asked me. Or taken out the loan in their own names. Their credit is shot, he said, then looked like he regretted it. I stared at him. How many other loans have they taken out? He looked away. I don't know what you're talking about. Kevin. I stepped closer. Did they use my name for other loans? His silence was damning. How much? I whispered. It doesn't matter, he muttered. Family helps family. Asterisk how much asterisk, Kevin? He shuffled his feet. Maybe another 30. For the cars, $80,000. They had stolen $80,000 from my future. I felt something inside me harden. Give me your key. What? Your key to my apartment. The one I gave you for emergencies. I held out my hand. Now. You're being crazy now, Kevin. Or I'll call the police and have you arrested for trespassing if you ever come near my place again. He fished the key from his pocket and threw it at me. You're not my sister anymore. I caught the key. No. I'm your victim. The next blow came 2 days later. A call from HR at the hospital. Someone had been making complaints about me. Claims that I was stealing medication, showing up to work intoxicated, mistreating patients. We take these accusations seriously, my supervisor said. But given your spotless record, we're investigating before taking action. A pause. The complaints came from your mother. I closed my eyes. Of course. If I lost my job, I couldn't pay rent. If I couldn't pay rent, I'd have to crawl back home. Back under their control. I explained the situation, the identity theft, the police report, the retaliation. My supervisor was sympathetic but cautious. Document everything, she advised. And maybe consider a restraining order. A restraining order against my own parents. The thought made me physically ill. But that night, I came home to find my apartment door unlocked. Nothing was missing, but things had been moved. Photos turned face down. A bottle of wine opened and left on the counter to spoil. A warning. A reminder that they could reach me whenever they wanted. I changed the locks the next day. The police called with an update 2 weeks later. They had enough evidence to charge my parents with identity theft and fraud. Copies of the loan documents. Bank records. Even video from the bank showing my mother presenting herself as me. The prosecutor will be in touch, Officer Martinez said. Just be prepared, cases like this can get ugly. That night, Dad called for the first time in weeks. We can still fix this, he said without preamble. Drop the charges. We'll figure out a payment plan. It's out of my hands now, Dad. Nothing's out of your hands, he snapped. You're choosing this. Choosing to destroy your family. You made that choice when you stole my identity. We're offering to pay it back. What more do you want? I want my parents to understand what they did was wrong, I said. I want you to take responsibility instead of blaming me. He laughed bitterly. We raised an ungrateful child. You raised a child who learned that her worth is measured by what she can give you, I corrected. And now you're angry because I finally said no. The line went silent for a long moment. Then, your mother and I might go to jail because of you. I hope you can live with that. Can you live with what you did to me? I asked. He hung up. The family implosion was swift and total. Aunt Denise organized a family intervention at Uncle Steve's house without telling him it was an intervention. When I arrived to what I thought was dinner, I found 20 relatives waiting, faces grim. Emma, Aunt Denise began, we're here because we love you and your parents. This has gone too far. Uncle Steve looked horrified. Denise, what is this? A chance for Emma to make things right, she said. To drop these ridiculous charges before they destroy the family. I looked around the room at the faces of people I'd known all my life. Cousins I'd played with at family reunions. Uncles who'd taught me to fish. Aunts who'd sent birthday cards without fail. All of them looking at me like I was the criminal. My parents stole $80,000 from me, I said clearly. They destroyed my credit. Cost me my home. And instead of apologizing, they're threatening me and trying to get me fired. They're your parents, Cousin Mike said. They changed your diapers. Put food on your table. And that gives them the right to steal my future? I looked at each face in turn. Would any of you be okay with someone stealing your identity and taking out loans in your name? Would you just forgive and forget? Uncomfortable silence. They needed help, Aunt Denise said finally. They were too proud to ask. Then that's on them, I said. Not me. Family helps family, someone murmured. Family doesn't steal from family, I countered. Family doesn't lie to family. Family doesn't threaten family. Uncle Steve stood. I think we all need to take a step back. You need to drop the charges, Aunt Denise interrupted. Or you're no longer welcome at family gatherings. No holidays. No birthdays. Nothing. The ultimatum hung in the air. 20 pairs of eyes watched me, waiting for my surrender. I took a deep breath. I guess I'll miss the potato salad. Aunt Denise gasped. You would choose this? This vindictiveness over your entire family? I'm not the one making that choice, I said, rising to leave. You are. The final straw came in the form of a pink envelope. Inside, a sonogram image. My hand shook as I read the accompanying note. Emma, I know we're estranged now, but I thought you should know you're going to be an aunt. The baby is due in November. Kevin and Katie are ecstatic, but stressed about finances with the legal bills. I hope you'll reconsider your position for the sake of your niece or nephew. Family should be together, especially with a new life coming into the world. Love always. Mom. I stared at the sonogram, emotions warring within me. Joy for my brother, despite everything. Fear for this child, born into a family where financial abuse was normalized. Rage at my mother's transparent manipulation. Using an unborn child as leverage. A new generation to guilt and control. I placed the sonogram gently on the table and picked up my phone. I had a call to make. District Attorney's Office, how may I direct your call? My name is Emma Clark. I'd like to speak with whoever is handling the identity theft case against Robert and Nancy Clark. 20 minutes later, I had my answer. The prosecutor was offering a plea deal, full restitution, probation, no jail time, if I agreed. All I had to do was say yes, and my parents would avoid prison. I thought of the sonogram. My future niece or nephew. The family they deserved. I'll accept on one condition, I said finally. They need to get financial counseling as part of their probation. Real help. I can add that requirement, the prosecutor said, sounding surprised. Then yes. I agree to the plea deal. I hung up and stared at the sonogram again. This child deserved better than what I had experienced. Better than parents who might someday demand repayment for their care with interest. My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. Mom says you agreed to the deal. Does this mean you're coming back to the family? I typed my response carefully. I'll always be here for you and your child. But I need boundaries with Mom and Dad. Real ones. We can talk about what that looks like when you're ready. I set down my phone and looked around my small apartment. It wasn't the house I'd dreamed of buying, but it was mine. Safe. Secure. The first link in a new chain I was forging for myself. One without debt. Without obligation. Without the crushing weight of a love that came with invisible price tags. It would take years to rebuild my credit. To save again for a home. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. My phone buzzed again. Uncle Steve, proud of you, kid. Dinner next week? I smiled and typed back. I'd like that. Some family ties were worth keeping. Others needed to be broken to be remade. And some needed to stay broken to keep me whole. Was I right to hold my parents accountable, even at the cost of family unity? Or should I have absorbed this blow as just another debt children owe their parents?